Welcome to NYNJPA Weather, your weather source for the Northern Mid-Atlantic. I'm meteorologist Stephen DiMartino, and boy do we have a lot to talk about today, so let's get right to it. On the surface map this morning, we have a cold front that is slowly moving towards the Northern Mid-Atlantic coast. Notice how the cold front has blue lines and red lines, blue lines and red lines. That means the cold front's starting to stall out, and we're starting to get waves of low pressure developing along this cold front. That is a major implication for the pattern going forward for the rest of this week. This cold front is going to set up as a conduit for an area of low pressure that's currently developing in the Gulf to move north. For today, though, after a bout of some dense fog this morning, expect scattered showers on and off throughout the day. Nothing heavy, but it still is going to be a nuisance, especially if you're driving, some minor ponding, a brief decrease in visibility, but overall not a major big deal. This cold front is also weakening because the majority of the cold air is focused more in the northern plains and central Canada. It's kind of holding, the cold air is holding back a bit, and I'm going to show why in just a few minutes. Let's take a look at the water vapor satellite picture. The water vapor this morning shows several interesting features starting to develop. As you can see, we clearly are developing a boundary along the east coast with a cold front and an upper level low over eastern Canada. Now what we have here is a neutral NAO pattern, which means there really isn't much blocking in the North Atlantic right now to slow down a storm or to force it east. As a result, our upper level disturbance that is currently over the Mississippi River Valley and drawing up plenty of moisture will be able to move towards the eastern Great Lakes. So the track ended up further west than what was originally thought because the North Atlantic Oscillation is neutral. That's not going to last for long though. Overall, though, what this pattern is demonstrating is a slow step down in what will be a colder pattern going forward for the end of November into December. We have cold air that has been pulling over Western Canada, driving south into the Northern Plains and Rockies, and eventually that cold air has to build and establish itself. In order for an Arctic or polar air mass to move into the east, whether that's New England, the Northern Mid-Atlantic, or the Southeast, it has to be established first further north and west in Canada, in northern United States, in the Rockies. So we have to have a step down. It's very rare that you have a complete switch from a warm pattern to a cold pattern. It's extremely rare and usually needs a very powerful storm. So we're going through this step down method. As a result, this storm that is developing along the western Gulf Coast and the Mississippi River Valley will move up towards the northern Mid-Atlantic and towards the eastern Great Lakes, producing moderate to heavy rain Tuesday night into Wednesday. I'm looking for a half an inch to an inch and a half of rain for the most part, but it really is not going to be a major storm event. And as we could see on the radar this morning, our area low pressure is developing with plenty of moderate to heavy rain. A lot of this heavy rain is going to be focused more towards eastern and central Pennsylvania and off towards western New York, but still, the northern Mid-Atlantic, specifically the New York City and Philadelphia metropolitan areas, will still get a dose of moderate to heavy rain Tuesday night into Wednesday. Again, remember, because the NAO is neutral, the low pressure center associated with this rain does not have to redevelop along the coast. Thus, we end up with a slightly warmer pattern for this storm. How long is that going to last though? I'll let you know. What we have here is the European and the GFS 8 to 10 day average pattern. This is from the Penn State EWAL website, an excellent website for model guidance. And I drew some lines here that are very important. Notice the black lines here. This is the ridge axis over Greenland and over Alaska. When these two ridges connect, very cold air is driven south. What south happens to be America. And unfortunately, this Arctic area is going to take a beeline right into the northern plains. So if you don't like winter in the northern plains, one, what are you living there for? And two, well, sorry, you better be prepared for temperatures only in the teens, possibly by around Thanksgiving, if not earlier. What does that mean for the northern Mid-Atlantic? Well, notice the trough that is shown on all model guidance off of the Canadian Maritimes. This is a negative NAO, and this is why a negative NAO is so important. You see the orange colors and the ridge over the southeast? That's our southeast ridge. A southeast ridge is very normal in La Nina patterns, whether they're west-based or east-based. The question is, where does the ridge set up as far as where is the ridge axis set up, and what influence does this have on storm tracks? Well, the ridge axis with this La Nina constantly has been off the southeast coast. The higher heights since summer remain around Bermuda. Around the Bahamas and off the southeast coast. Sometimes around Bermuda as well. Now, what this means is that if you get a negative NAO pattern, especially a west base, which this one is, as you can see the ridge is building all the way into parts of northern Canada, when that happens, you suppress the storm track and force the storm track over the mid-Atlantic. And that's going to be a big, big story coming for Thanksgiving and then moving in through December. Anyone thinks that this pattern is going to be a warm pattern is going to be very surprised by the time we move to Thanksgiving and as we move through December. What this pattern represents is cold air pulling over the northern plains and then slowly working its way east into the Great Lakes and into New England and the northern Atlantic. This type of pattern also produces significant lake effect snow for portions of western New York and Ohio, basically the eastern Great Lakes and central Great Lakes, so watch out for that around Thanksgiving. And also, it forces more active storm tracks developing from the southern plains through the Mississippi Valley and towards the mid-Atlantic. I think I had that in my winter forecast. Oh yeah, I did. So, get prepared. Winter's coming, and coming in a big way. Thank you for trusting in NYNJPA Weather as your weather source for the northern mid-Atlantic. I also want to let you know a new ebook is coming out this afternoon about the major rainstorm that developed in late September and early October that produced over 7 inches of rain in parts of eastern Pennsylvania. On sale this afternoon for only $5. I'm meteorologist Stephen DiMartino. Have an excellent afternoon.